Izzuddin bin Muhammad, Sister Nur Hazwani Afifah binti Hirnizan, Brother Muhammad Naqwi bin Abdurrahman, Sister Nurul Hana binti Amir, Brother Nazmi Farhan bin Arifin. Thank you so much for your time, commitment, and continuous effort. Without you, we cannot realize this program. Again, thank you so much. For your information, the three programs, namely pre-medical, pre-dentistry, and pre-pharmacy are under the purview of biology department. But please bear in mind, being registered under these three programs does not guarantee your spot yet. So you are still required to achieve the minimum CGPA of 3.5 and pass the interview. So this graduating semester is critical in determining your future. So as we are also responsible to ensure all students under these three programs secured a place at Kuliah, our academic advisor, Madam Zahala Ghazali, has come up with this alumni inspire one step closer talk. We believe that this program will enlighten and motivate you to succeed in your study. But having said this, even though you have put all the efforts, yet unable to meet the kuliah requirement, Allah knows best. This is not the end of this world. Manjada wajada, and do not afraid to knock other doors. There are many options and opportunities awaits you behind the door. Always remember, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, and we know you are that tough. Okay, again, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, and we know you are that tough. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. I would like to wish you Ramadan Kareem. May Allah ease your hardship, give you all the courage, strength, and success, insyaAllah. Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. All the best in this semester, and whatever you do, I wish you a blissful Ramadan 2021. With that, I end my speech with Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Madam Hadiza, for the insightful speech. I can summarize some important highlights from the video. The first one, even we are offered to this program, we have to realize that it is not a guarantee to enroll in the kuliah. If we did not meet the minimum requirement of CGPA 3.5 and pass the interview. The second one is, if we have done the very best, but seems we did not achieve the requirement, there is still other opportunity to us. Do not get despair. Dear brothers and sisters, we are now reaching to the highlight of today's event. Before I pass the screen to our invited speaker, let me introduce some background of our speaker. Our speaker today is Dr. Muhammad Aqlan bin Muhammad Zaki. Recently, he is a research assistant at Sultan Ahmad Shah Medical Center, SASMEC. SRA, he has experience in a few fields such as managing resources under various departments, namely Department of Surgery, Department of Family Medicine, and Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Research conduct and academic writing, editing and publishing guidebook for Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, SASMEC at IIUM Labor Room Guidebook, and also editing and publishing guidebook for Lembaga Penduduk dan Pembangunan Keluarga Negara, LPPKN, Pahang, Postnatal Care Manual. A little bit on his academic achievement. Alhamdulillah, our speaker today had obtained Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, IIUM in 2020 with CGPA 4.0, with various best awards such as Best Overall Students for Final Professional Exam Award, Best Students for Internal Medicine Posting Award, Best Student for Secretary Posting Award, Best Student for Pediatrics Posting Award, and also Best Student for Orthopedics Posting Award. Moreover, she graduated from Center for Foundation Studies IIUM in 2015 with CGPA 3.966. He also completed Pensijilan Tahfiz Darul Quran Jakim in 2014 with CGPA 3.494. Furthermore, he went to Sekolah Agama Menengah SEM Hulu Langat 2008-2012 with excellent PMR results, which is 9 A's, and also SPM result 11 A's. He also active in co-curricular activities during his studies, such as he participated in Intervarsity Medic Olympiad 2016-2017, he participated in National Medical Olympiad 2019, and he also participated in Debat Etika Perubatan University and Intervarsity Medical Quiz Challenge 2017. Additional on that, he was the head of Batch Academic Bureau 2019-2020 and Program Manager for Prime Pro Exam Made Easy 2019-2020. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Muhammad Aklan bin Muhammad Zaki to deliver his talk. Please welcome.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, Abid, to all that are present for today's session. So, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aklan bin Muhammad Zaki. So, before first and foremost, I would like to express my utmost gratitude and appreciation towards the organizers for the programs, namely the Departments of Biology, as well as Medicine Society for organizing such a, I would say, a good event in terms of preparing oneself towards the future. Back then, when I was a CFS students, we don't really have a like a alumni sharing sessions that is being conducted. So I would say this is a very good step being taken by departments of biology. And special thanks to Madam Azla as well as Madam Shafia as the person in charge of contacting the the speakers for today. So without further ado, let us start the session. So first and foremost, I would like to share my slide. All right. So okay. Now, this is my slide. So I prepared special for this particular event. So a bit on introduction. Of course, as mentioned by speaker, I was your, I would say senior, but not really your super senior. I just recently just graduated from Kuliah of Medicine. So I started my study back in Sam Hulu Langat school as my secondary school. Then I continued pursued my studies in Darul Quran Jakim, spent about 1.5 years there. And then after that, I went into CFS, IAUM. So back then, the Gampang was just open. So I was among the first few to officiate Gambang with my batchmates. And back then, Gambang was not equipped yet with the laboratory proper lab for our practical sessions. So we also went to CFSPJ for our practical sessions during our short semester. Then back then, we have two options for medical program CFS, where we have the 1 year programs and 2 years programs, where the choice is determined by our results in SPM as well as the EPT and APT, Arabic placement test, as well as English placement test during the entrance to CFS. And I did my CFS in 1 year. So I was informed by the committee that currently all of you are taking 1 year program, right? So I was informed that there is no more 2 years program. So I would say we are talking about the same wavelength, I would say. Then after that, I graduated from CFSPJ, attained a spot in Kuliah of Medicine. So I pursued my undergraduate study there for 5 years durations, 2 years in the preclinical as well as 3 years in clinical years, and graduated. And currently I'm working in Kuliah of Medicine as research assistants for some of the departments, as mentioned by the MC before, and currently waiting placement in housemanship, inshallah, after Raya. Now, so let's go to the first part of my presentations for today. So this is not really like a lecture so whatnot. This is just some sharing that I would say for me, if I am talking to myself, my past self in CFS, I would say these are some of the things that I would like to know. So the first and foremost will be some introductions to the Kuliah of Medicine. So this is the pictures. You will be very accustomed to this scene when you enter the Kuliah. So having said that, I prepared this slide, these particular sections of the slide because for me, as a CFS student back then, I was always very curious about what's the life coming after this. What's how's life during our undergraduate study, and for that, I would say to fill that gap would alleviate some of the unnecessary anxieties that I was having back then. So hopefully this will be of beneficials to all of you. So these are some of the pictures of Kuliah of Medicines in the main campus of IIM Kuantan. So this is the main building, and we have the pictures down is actually the hospital. So we have a new hospital actually. So this would be where we will be practicing our clinical years. And also we will also go to the main hospital of Kuantan, HTAA, Hospital Tengku Apuan Abzan, as part of clinical attachment. So we will alternate between these two hospitals, and sometimes we will go to Hoshas Hospital in Temerloh. So this is the Kuliah. So it's very nice building. If you happens to go, I'm pretty sure that some of you might have got the chance to go into our main campus. So it's a very good, very, I would say, very beautiful design, inspired by Moorish architectures, the Cordova, Alhambra Palace and whatnot. It's a very scenic and very tranquil and serene environments for us to study. But in terms of the environments of campus life, I would say it's not as lively as Gombak, but I think it's enough to enjoy your life in undergraduate years. So whenever you have the chance, but during COVID, it's not really advisable to go and visit places, but you can just go to Google and YouTube. But I'm still sure regardless, there's no really need to go there, but it's good to have a look at the place. Very nice place. Now, an outline of my introduction. So I will talk a bit about the phase of study during our undergraduate years later on, as well as some of the syllabus and in terms of the exam and interview to enter Kuliah. So I was informed by the community that all of you have done the interview. May I ask the MC if that is correct? All of you have done the interview to enter Kuliah during PKP, right?
No, no,
Oh, not yet.
not yet.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So I will touch a bit on that lah, because I was informed previously that you guys done it, but regardless, I've prepared this slide just in case. So a bit on the undergraduate years in Kuliah of Medicine. So it is total of 5 years study. So the 5 years are divided into 3 phases. So the first phase will be year 1 and year 2, where we will indulge into the preclinical subject. Then we have year 3 as a standalone phase, as the second phase of medical school years, where we will be practicing as the junior clerking officer. Then year 4 and year 5 will be compiled as the last and final phase of the undergraduate years, where we will be acting as senior clerking officers. Then after that, we will be graduating as a medical doctors. Then after that, we will wait for placement in housemanship. So academic calendar in Kuliah of Medicine is a bit different if you are to compare with other kuliah, where we use a block system instead of a semester system. So one semester can be roughly divided into 2 blocks. So we have 2 blocks for one semester. So 1 year we will roughly have about 4 blocks altogether. So in between blocks, there will be breaks about 1.5 week. And we don't have any semester break. So just a bit of insight on how's life gonna be for all of you, inshallah, when you enter the main campus. So and then we have the exam for each end of blocks. And then we have 2 professional exams. First one will be in year 2 and another one will be in year 5. Year 2 will be important for us to jump from preclinical years in within the lecture halls, the walls of lecture halls, then we will make the jump towards clinical years, acting and practicing in hospitals whatsoever. And year 5 will be the final exam for our graduation. Of course, you don't need to worry about all this. This is just some of the bit outline that you might want to know how's life gonna be later on. But regardless, just focus on where you are now, which is the gateway of garden of knowledge and virtue. Now, just this one is not really important. Just to have a just a rough idea on what's life gonna be. Then you're gonna cover a few subjects. Year 1, mainly individual subject. But having said that, in when you once you entered kuliah in the main campus, inshallah, the exams there, it's not gonna be a separate subject, but rather all of the subjects are being coalesced into one exam. For example, so we don't take separate anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry papers, but rather all of these will be condensed into one paper. We will answer that paper and incorporate between these three components. There's no need to worry about this, but just a bit on overview of what are we going to cover during our your undergraduate years later on, inshallah. So year 2, all of these subjects will be condensed into system. Our bodies have many systems. We have the neurological system, we have the musculoskeletal system, we have the respiratory system, and so on. And then year 3 would start the jump into the clinical years, and year 4 and year 5 will continue with clinical years. Then we will have the professional exam. So if you notice that, one might think that subject in, what's the purpose of learning, chemistry, statistic, during our foundation. So I once had those kind of thoughts, but actually it's really helpful once you mastered, this key subject, because, for example, chemistry, you're gonna need a lot of chemistry knowledge later on, especially when you're dealing with biochemistry and physiology. And in terms of biology, of course, definitely you're going into medic, you're gonna know you're gonna use biology. It's a biology, everything about biology. Then about statistic is also important, because later on you will need to do some research. This research require then some knowledge into statistics. So I would say that one might say that we some of the subjects might not seem relevant, but later on you will realize that all of those subjects, where we learn during CFS is very important. That's why they are called the foundation years, because without proper foundations, we will not have a building, right? So these are some of the subjects. Moving on to the next part. Now, let's talk about the interview. So, as mentioned by the pre-recorded sessions by Madam Haliza, she was once our lecturer also. So, we will have in order for all of us to pass into the main campus, into our kuliah, we need to pass the CGPA requirements, which I was informed still at 3.5, which is actually quite advantageous for all of you who are currently in CFS pre-medical program, because those who are from other program, they need to have a higher CGPA to enroll into the kuliah of medicine later on. But having said that, this is not a matter for us to having a lay less a relaxed attitude whatsoever. There still be competitions, but you guys have the advantage. You guys need to just finish this, have the final sprint. Of course, going back to the topics, the interview. So the panels of the interviewer would be the lecturers from Kuliah of Medicine. Mostly are clinical lecturers, so you will face them later on in year 3, year 4, and year 5. So it's good to remember, your interviewer during because later on you might bump into them during your clinical years. So those are your interviewers. So we will divide it into small groups, group of 5 or 6 people back then when I was doing the interview. Back then, the interview was conducted in admin building in Gambang, but I'm not sure how the settings gonna be later on. You guys gonna know that lah. Topics and themes would be, the usual questions. What are the reasons to take medicines? What are your ambitions? And sometimes, the panel might ask some of the knowledge, the current issues, for example, COVID-19, the vaccination status and whatsoever. But no need to really worry about this interview, to be honest, because you just prepare for the best. I would say most of my friends actually managed to pass the interview lah. Some of them did not manage to make it into the kuliah, mainly because of the pointer instead of the interview. I would say the interview is not much to worry about, but just put your best foot forward and just prepare these are some of the things that you might want to prepare before the interview, but don't overexert yourself on this interview. Just focus on the CGPA is actually more pivotal for us to enter the kuliah. But the interview is also important to have a good impression. So just these are some of the things that you might want to look into. Um, so now moving to the second, sessions of my slide sharing. So I would like to talk a bit about CFS. As the name suggests, it's the gateway to the garden of knowledge and virtue. So inshallah later on you will be within the garden itself. So having said that, the term gateway, meaning that we are, one step into kuliah. So you just need to, put the other foot into the kuliah. Inshallah, you're gonna do this. I'm pretty sure. Just focus and go through this final semester. So this is the pictures of the admin building. So back then, when I was in CFS, this is where all of our classes are being conducted. So it's quite memorable to see this. I actually went back in CFS Gambang before PKP and to see the buildings, and it's quite nice lah to see the campus being finished. So, having said that, it's a gateway to countless opportunities. So, it's a very pivotal phase for us to enter the next phase of life. Being named the foundation years, it's not being named such for no apparent reasons. Of course, it forms the foundations for us to later further our studies later on. So, just focus one step at one time. You might have some, I had it once actually, some unnecessary thoughts and worries about what life gonna be during our undergraduate years. But don't, don't be burdened by such, uncertainties. Just focus on what we are currently doing and do what is best for us for our current moment. So pathway for CFS Medic, of course, I mentioned before, it's gonna be a bit easier as compared to other kuliah because the CGPA is at 3.5, whereas other kuliah they need to achieve a CGPA which is higher than that. So I have friends from other CFS programs, some of them from sorry, I think it was from Allied Health Science. There are few, there are about 3 or 4 of them in my batch that they achieved 4 flat, so they managed to secure a place. So, but good news, there will be also be some bad news. But some of my friends did not make it to enter a kuliah because of CGPA. So, of course, this is a very important point lah. So, having said that, this is not the reason to relax, but not the reason to be stressed out. So just take that, fact as as an advantage to all of you guys being in pre-medical programs. So just put the last bit of your efforts to your final sprint, and inshallah you will make it. Remain calm, focused, and calculative for you to achieve your goals later on. So this is just a bit on some sharing this particular graph. You will see a lot of this graph if when you enter psychiatry posting later on, as well as when you are doing, psychology subject in year 1 as well as in year 2. So this is a stress response curve. Of course, I'm sure that you've heard this from many motivators that are focusing on stress, whatnot. So of course, we're going to talk about the same thing because it's a very important thing. We have the concept of eustress or the good stress as well as distress. So I put this slide specifically for my sharing today because I would say this is a very important topic to be touched on because a certain amount of stress is good for us to, propel ourselves towards achieving higher level. So, honestly speaking, I'm not gonna lie that CFS years was very For me, it was quite stressful back then because you have so many things that you need to do. But Alhamdulillah, I managed to get good results from that. I managed to get actually during my final semester, I got a four flat. For semester, the first and second semester, 3.9 something. One I missed one subject. You got the A minus instead. But Alhamdulillah, for the final, I got a four flat. So it's having said that, it's not impossible for us to achieve this. So of course, uh, an excessive amount of stress will not be good for your health. Gonna be a amount of distress. So then the mind will be a state of fatigue. Then there will be exhaustions later on, and eventually, na'uzubillah, but you can break down from all this unnecessary excessive stress. So you need to learn how to manage your stress. And of course, having said that, having excessive abnormal amount of stress, you can always ask for help from others. Don't keep it to yourself. There's always counselors, psychologists that are more than happy to help. Just go seek their opinions. I'm sure that in CFS they have such services as they do in main campus. So pencil or diamonds, you decide. We learn in chemistry. It's very, important. I would say interesting comparisons being made by my lecturers back then. So the carbon structures where we can have the strongest of elements, at the same time we can have the fragile, but just based on their molecular structure. So you decide who you want to be, we decide what we want to be. Of course, this is a message to myself. We are essentially all, we are not born equal, of course, definitely, but we can strive towards better. That's the point that I want to make here. There's a, yeah, some might start early, some might have a earlier start as compared to others, but there's always room for improvements, and I believe in such statement. So final semester, the final sprint, it's time to focus, keep our best foot forwards. At the same time, don't exert yourself. Seek help if necessary, and study smart and study hard. Don't put it in dichotomous classifications where you either smart or you either study hard. Why not both? Put up a good studying strategy, as well as put a good amount of effort into the study. Hurdles and strategies, some of the ones that me and my colleagues faced back then. This is the pictures of IOEM Kuantan Mosque. You can go and it's very good view, and once you enter Kuliah you will experience this firsthand. Studying strategies, of course, common topics being asked would be, how do you study for foundation years? I would say there's no definitive exact strategy for each one. Everyone has an individual approach, but what's more important is that we have one. We have a strategy. That's more important. But my general tips for all, first and foremost, of course, to focus on class. I would say that I study most of my study time outside the academic hours is actually just a revision. So you don't want to learn new things when you don't want to start from scratch when you are outside your academic hours. You need to already grasp the basics during the class. So focus on class. And a habit of mine was to ask as many as questions possible. Some might be annoyed with me back then, but just I disregard them. You know what you are going, what are your goals, and you know what are the means to achieve that. So never be bothered by such thing. Ask as many questions as possible. Of course, you lecturers have consultation hours. Use them. I always frequently went to the lecturers' cubicles. Asking questions, question after questions, and tackle, of course, all of your uncertainty but with regards to that particular subject should be addressed as quickly as possible with lecturers or with friends. Sometimes your lecturers might not be available. Seek friends help. Consult them to ask for a particular topic. So of course, we have weekly tutorials for different subjects altogether. So for tutorials, it will be very advisable for all of us to actually try to solve the tutorials by ourselves, try to grasp as many as knowledge as possible from our own understanding. And it's always good to do group discussion afterwards, because we might think that we know it, but our friends might know it better, and we might miss some of the aspect that they see and we did not see. So it's very good for all of us to do the tutorials themselves, finish it as soon as you got it, and after that you do good group discussion. So my first line of revision for during my foundation years will be tutorials, because um, unless I finish my tutorials, I will proceed to open up other textbook or whatsoever, because tutorials actually what are the topics that are important for your study. So tackling tutorials, inshallah, I would say, if you manage to do your tutorial well, inshallah you will pass lah, no problem lah. Because tutorials is what essential. So unless I finish, back then my strategy was I finish my tutorial first, and once I finish, only then I will go extra mile by reading the textbook in greater depth and focus on weekly quizzes. This quiz might seem, trivial to, some of us, but it's very important because they are assessing our understanding. It's not much of of course, it carries carry mark. Of course, it goes without saying that the carry marks are important for the assessment, but what's more important is that it assess our grasp of the understandings of the topics, which we, previously being trained during the tutorials. Of course, set the assignment as efficient as possible. 1 year program is very tough. You have like 1 week, you can have like multiple assignments. At the same time, you're gonna have multiple tutorials, multiple quiz. So of course, I've been there. It's very hard. It's quite hard. It's very hard. But of course, you need to find ways and strategies to manage them. And of course, the exams in foundations are just going through what has been learned during our class. So it's very important for you to, keep all your notes and tutorials at your side and revise them. And then after that, go to extra miles by going into textbooks. That's the strategy for my foundation years. And I use the same strategies more or less during my preclinical years, with some modifications during my clinical years in undergraduate study. So now the questions to study alone or study in group. So my answers will always be, why not? Take the best of both worlds. No need for all these, dichotomous classifications. It's either this or that, all or none. Just make do with what you can do. I always study personally. I always study alone. But I never close the opportunity to study in groups whenever I have the chance to, just to share my knowledge and just to grasp some different aspects, different angles of looking at things that you might overlook. Of course, depends on individuals, but make do with what you are most comfortable with, and try to have the best of both worlds with whatever you are comfortable. Personal experience, uh, not really much. I'm pretty sure it's more or less the same with what you are guys facing. Time management, because being 1 year programs are being compact. As of you guys are also 1 year programs, right? So you know all these curriculums are being jam packed into a 1 year period, academic years. It's quite hard, to be honest. And of course, adaptations to busy schedules you are not really used to, and of course unnecessary excessive fears of things that within outside our control. So if the hypothetical questions where I can then can travel back in time and meet my previous younger self in CFS, I would always say that you just focus on what you can do. No need to be really bothered with what you cannot do. There are so many things that are within our control, and there are things that are outside our control, you know, like this pandemic, COVID-19, where it's beyond our control that it happened. Nobody expected it to happen. It forces people to adopt different strategies, online learning, online meeting, whatsoever. But make do best with what you can do at the current moment. Focus on what you can do, what you can control, and not what we cannot control. So handling these problems that I mentioned before, of course, first and foremost will be to tajdid our niyat. This might seem such a cliche or trivial things for some, but it's very important because niat is what drives you forward. For me, you know, always remember that for those who entered CFS, you know, foundation studies in whichever university, I'm pretty sure that you know, most of you are being sponsored by some sort of scholarships. Some might, you know, be later on when you enter kuliah. Some might get JPA. Some might, you know, use PTPTN. But you know, the main core of the issue is that we are being sponsored by someone else to do our study. We are being funded to study. So it's kind of like an amana where you imagine you are being given a sum of money to do what you are expected to do. So try not to break that amanah. Do our best. The results might not come our way, but that's not the question. The question is the efforts that we put in to get the aim, the desired result. So I always view that the study is a part of amanah, and that drives me forwards to, you know, always preserve and always to do my best. Of course, problems you have ones. Everyone have problems, so always share with your friends and families. I personally, I contacted my mother and father almost on a daily basis. So up to you guys, but don't keep it to yourself. Share it if you're comfortable with your friends. Share it with your friends. Comfortable with your siblings. Share it with siblings, and so on. Acknowledge the problems and try to solve it. Seek help if necessary. Don't keep it, you know, being built into a volcano inside of you. Acknowledge the problems, what are the problems, and tackle it accordingly. And never give up. There will always be, you know, some ups and downs in life. There's not gonna be a smooth sailing for everyone. This is, you know, a general, common statement for all. Never give up. There's always, you know, remember that there's always a silver lining at the end. So you might seem struggling a bit, but you know, I have friends that are struggling in the early semester of foundations, but they managed to come back and secure a spot. And later in their degree life, actually they are one of, you know, among the top students in my batch. So you know, as they say, comeback is real, but try to do, you know, do the best in the current present moment. Maintain a good relationship with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and the rest of your friends, of your, you know, of the other interactions with other people, other humans. Keep track of your goals and drive. This is very important to keep ongoing the, you know, the motivations, the burning fire within to grasp what you are aiming for. Always in contact with parents and pray, as well as ask others to pray. You know, there's a hadith that says, you know, for those who pray for others without the others knowing that they are praying, then the, you know, the angels will say walaka bimis, meaning that, you know, and upon you too, and the angels will also make an amin to that dua. So it's important for us to pray for ourselves, and important for us to pray for others, because you know, uh, we efforts is one thing, but essentially eventually all of the results will come from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So yeah, being Muslims, we need to acknowledge that fact. Of course, hadith, you know, from Aisha radiallahu anha, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once mentioned that Inna Allah azza wa jalla yuhibbu iza amila ahadukum amalan ay yudqina. You know, the concept of itqan, tekun, you know, in our language we say tekun. So, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very, you know, kasih, but he loves those who put in everything that they do the very best, you know, tekun, to put your best. So it's this hadith is, for me, it's very inspirational for me. I always sort of keep reminding myself as well as my close friends of this hadith to always do best in whatever you do, even to the simplest of tasks. Do your best because it is what pleases Allah Subhanahu wa Taala eventually, essentially. Of course, you know, once we put our best efforts, put tawakkal to Allah. فَإِذَا أَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. And once you put forth your best of efforts, then always, you know, you know, give your all of our efforts and all of our, you know, things. Just leave it to Allah's hands, inshallah, and pray for the best. This is the concept of tawakkal. I'm pretty, I'm quite interested by Madam Haliza's speech just now that, you know, effort is what is more important. Sometimes we might not get what we want, but it's not the end of the world. I would say, you know, there are friends out there that they don't manage to get medical, but they are being more successful in life, I would say. But it, you know, it's never the end of the world. Just do your best and put some tawakal into the efforts being done. So never be afraid to trust your unknown, our unknown futures to an all-knowing God. So, you know, Allah is the all-knowing. He is Al-Alim. He is also Al-Razak, the one who gives, you know, rizki. So, you know, just leave it to him, inshallah. So, and keep calm and, you know, gambar teku dasar lah. Yes, you know, random picture I took from internet. Okay, so I think that's all. I don't want to black necessarily long time. So I open the floor for any questions and answers. I will try to answer if, you know, I have the answers. If not, I will try to find it and come back to you later lah. So I pass the floor to the MC if there's any questions from the floor. Thank you. Questions, you can, you know, ask questions. I prefer you to open your cam, do to, you know, enter the, either you can put in chat box if you are, you know, shy or whatsoever, but you know, if you can speak it up, it's better, it's easier for me. Okay. Okay, so if there's no questions, then I pass back the floor to, you know, our brothers and see today. If you have any questions, just put in the chat box, or you can, you know, uh, uh, yeah, just ask the question. Oh, question chat box. Tadi. Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Aklan Imam Zaki, to deliver this talk. And now we have come to the Q&A session. And dear students, if you have any questions to ask, you may unmute your mic or write your question in the chat box. Please, we have a plenty time for Q&A session. So if any one of you have questions, please. All right. All right. Okay. There is one question. Right. The first question is Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My question is, what was your reason to take medicine? All right. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Faiz Nur Izzati, for such a hard questions. So to be honest, my reason to take medicine in the initial phase, I took medicine because I thought that I'm really into biomedic, to be honest. You know. I'm really into biomedic. I wanted to do, you know, research on human. I'm very intrigued by the discoveries, you know, on the molecular levels whatsoever. So I entered medical, to be honest, in the first place because I have that preconceived notions that, you know, gonna be a scientist later on. Then, to be honest, that was the reason back then. And I entered, entered medic. During the throughout the years there, you suddenly develop, you know, cultivate my sense of, you know, belonging there, and instead, but it's really, it doesn't really shut down my ambitions because even if you are inside medicine, you can still do research. You can always opt for, you know, either clinical research or, you know, going into the into the preclinical departments, the basic medical sciences departments, where you can always do research on physiologies, anatomies, biochemistry, whatsoever. So I would say that was my reason back then. And eventually during the my undergraduate years, I developed a sense of and I suddenly developed an interest in clinical research. So that's where I'm going into. So yeah. Okay. Thank you. I hope it answers, but it's not really a definitive answer. But that's a honest answer from me, lah. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Doctor, for your answer. I bet that it was a good answer and it will be a motivational to us also. All right, the second question is maybe about the student life in Kuantan. Can doctors, especially the men, have long hair? And maybe doctor can share about the attires for us during the class at Kuantan. Thank you.
Okay, I would say very practical questions. How's life there. In essence, having a long hair is it's not a problem if you can tidy it up, but you need to keep it to, there's a dress code for any university. There's always a dress code. So you can't keep a very long hair to the point that you can tie it. So just you can keep, moderately long hair. I would say you don't keep it too long, because it will be not really a problem when you are preclinical years. When you are preclinical years, your main concerns are within the walls of the lecture hall. So it's gonna be like CFS. Preclinical years is basically like extension of CFS. Of course, the studies are gonna be more difficult and whatsoever, but the environment is actually within the lecture halls. So for brothers, you are free to wear as of your CFS dress code, but of course you don't need to wear the white. During Wednesday back then, we need to wear white uniform with ties, right? So in undergraduate years, you even can wear jubah and as well as baju Melayu, but you need to wear, of course, your shoes, proper shoes and whatsoever. Uh, Sisters, same dress codes with baju kurung or any appropriate shirt whatsoever. But during your clinical years, it's gonna be a bit strict, because you must abide to the regulations by the hospital. So in HTAA and as well as SASMAC in our hospital UIA, for brothers, you need to wear kemeja, uh, preferably with tie, because the clinical lecturers, honestly speaking, they are quite strict in terms of the dress code. Might seem, a bit constricting, but that's the reality there lah. For sisters, same lah. But in terms of preclinical years, more or less the same with CFS lah. You can wear baju Melayu also to class. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Doctor. There is a third question from Amir Izzuddin. Is scholarship really necessary? Is it need to us to have a scholarship during the undergraduate studies?
Okay, thank you. Good questions. So scholarship is back then, before my senior, for those who are taking medic, automatically they will get JPA scholarship. That was the reality the year before me. So during when my batch first entered medical school, the reality changed because of the policy change. Suddenly, all of the students are not guaranteed to get a JPA scholarship. So if you ask me, is it really necessary? I would say yes, because it really alleviates the burden from it. Unless your parents can afford them, of course it's gonna be issue if the money is not issue. But for me, it's good for you to secure scholarship, because it really helps your parents to lift the burdens from them. But scholarship does not necessarily means you must take it from JPA. We have zakat from each state. They offered scholarship also. You have pinjaman from each negeri. For example, pinjaman Selangor. I live in Selangor. My younger brothers took pinjaman Selangor. I have friends from KL wilayah. They took scholarship from Zakat wilayah, and they earn more as compared to JPA, to be honest. So having said that, scholarship per se is very important. But what type of scholarship? It depends. For those who have bursary, um, I'm not sure if the policy is still the same or not. But as of the most junior batch, those who have bursary, they automatically get the JPA once they entered into the degree. For those who achieve a good pointer in CFS during degree, they still need to perform during the first two blocks, the first semester. I would say the first semester. Only then, with the result of the first semester, you can apply for JPA. So inshallah, you will get it a bit later, but still it's important to secure one lah.
All right, thank you, Doctor, for the answer to this question. All right, the question is from Ahmad Hanif. Assalamualaikum, sir or doctor. Do you have any experience that traumatized you or made you really hopeless during clinical years? Maybe during the surgery or any experience? Right. Thank you.
Okay, very practical question. I would like to share before that, when I was in Darul Quran, I was actually contemplating between taking if I can take medic or not, mainly because I was concerned that if I cannot see the blood, I was worried that I might, become traumatized by blood. But eventually, this thing, it for me, it is unnecessary because you don't know it yet. And actually, these things, you can actually desensitize them once you are in the field. So back to the questions, any traumatizing? Of course, there are moments where you're feeling hopeless. Despite on paper some might say that I scored on an exam whatnot, but during my first posting in, I was first posted in obstetric and gynecology in the labor room. You need to but it was quite hopeless in the sense that you don't know what to do. You are clinical years there essentially, but don't need to worry much about this. But there are moments there, especially during my first clinical posting in ONG. After that, slowly after a few weeks, you're eventually adapted to the situations. Alhamdulillah, I managed to get through all those postings and make the best of them. But back to the question, yeah, there are moments where you feel hopeless, where I don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You are feel a bit left out by the other staff because they don't recognize you yet. But eventually, with time, this thing will go, inshallah. The blood, the fear of blood, actually, you can slowly. That was a concern of mine back then. It's slowly, once you being exposed to blood, being exposed to some of my friends a bit not really familiar with we need to dissect cadavers, mayat, preserve mayat. Actually, it's not really fresh mayat, preserve one. So eventually it will go away, inshallah.
Right. Thank you, Doctor, for your answer. Right. Next question is from a user's iPhone. Maybe he is using iPhone. All right. He was flexing. All right. So the next question is the interview very difficult or not? Thank you.
Okay, good question. So interview was not difficult. To be honest, it's not difficult. You just the panels will be your future lecturers. They're not gonna punish you also whatsoever. They just want to see what drives you. And as I mentioned before, my friends that did not make it to the medical programs actually because of the CGPA. For those who passed the CGPA, all of them passed into the medical field. Don't really need to worry much about the clinical interview. No need too much worry too much about the interview, but you need to prepare a bit lah. What are you going to prepare? Essentially, what you can do, just prepare some you know have a clear what are your goals. Sometimes yeah, we made it up just to pass the interview, right? Just to pass it. And then take note some of the recent issues in our countries, especially in the medical field. It might help you, but sometimes my panelists did not ask us any of those questions actually. They just ask what you want, why you want to be, and so on. So just take note of those things. The rest, to be honest, it's not hard. It's not hard.
All
I
right.
have a question about the fee, right? Fee of
Yes.
the whole undergraduate.
Yes.
Can I get back to that questions later? I will because I have the figures, but it's in the letter. I don't really remember, but for local study in IPTA, it's actually being heavily subsidized by the government of Malaysia. So, you know, I will get back to that later lah. I will check back the figures, but it's heavily subsidized as compared to those who are taking in IPTS or those who are taking overseas. I will get back and I will PM the committee the numbers later on.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. All right. There's another question from Amir Harris. Do you ever have a thought about that you could might or might not further your studies or does your undergraduate studies was always in a smooth sailing?
Okay. Thank you, Amir, for the questions. Uh, for me personally, I believe that everyone have a different struggles altogether. But for me, the problem was not really. My doubts actually come from, it's not really from academic stand of view, but more of, is this my life after this? I had such doubt when I entered clinical years for the first time, where you are being hopeless, you are being left out as if you don't even exist in the ward whatsoever. So you think that, is this my life? How's my life gonna be? But in the end, for me lah. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm not actually suggesting or you guys to change course or suggesting you guys to proceed. It's up to you guys. It's essentially everyone has their choice and their choice are never wrong. So for me, because I already stepped into the field, so why not just finish it? So for me, struggles academically, it's in terms of pointers, in terms of alhamdulillah, I managed to go through all of them with not much problem. My problem is more of adaptations of the environment.
All right, thank you, Doctor. I believe that that answer can motivate us as the future doctor. All right, that's another question from IC. Maybe Aishi. Sorry if I'm wrong. Okay, Doctor, may I know that what was your first department during your HO?
Oh, actually, I'm not yet into HO. Actually, I'm currently awaiting the placement. Currently, I work in Kuliah of Medicines temporarily as a research assistant, just to fill in the gap with something that might benefit, careers later on. I'm not yet into HO. Inshallah, after Raya, the placement will be there because I just graduated last year actually.
All right, Doctor. All the best, Doctor.
Inshallah.
All right. There's another question from Mahfuza. Doctor, how to become a neurologist dekat kuliah nanti? All right.
Very good questions. To be honest, sister Mahfuza, it is my ambition also to be a neurologist. So, I asked the same questions during the interview actually to the panelists. So, essentially, how you want to become the one. So, first, you need to enter, of course, enter the kuliah, finish your undergraduate years, 5 years in total, finish your housemanship, 2 years, and then you can go once after you finish housemanships. Currently we have contract medical officer, so you have two choices to go into specialty. Either you can go through parallel pathway where we take specialized exam to go for specialty, or you can take the master program. But having said that, the current challenges for our generations, including me, because the issues of contract medical officers, it does not permit ones to take the necessary specialty programs until you get a permanent posting. So it's going to be a challenge for me, as well as the challenge faced by my seniors who are contract medical officers also. So you can go either regardless, if we disregards the fact that contract, the fact that we are contract, so on, how to be a neurologist, you can either go into parallel pathway, MRCP. You can Google it. It's the exam for specialty, or you can go master program. Master program is a total of 4 years duration. Then after that, you enter the internal medicine posting. Then after that, you can pursue, hopefully, inshallah, me too, can pursue into neurology as a subspecialty lah.
All right. Thank you, Doctor, for answering that question. There's another question from Sushi. Assalamualaikum, sir. I want to pursue deeper in forensic or pathology on my degree years, but my mom keep on telling me not to because I will only react with corpses and I'm a girl. Can you give me any situation I will go through if I really go for forensics so I can see my path clearly? Do you recommend me taking forensic or pathology? Right.
May I ask, is it for the working posting? I mean, like forensic posting, or like a pathology class during the medical years? May I ask the sushi for clarifications on your questions? So during in the meantime, Oh, okay. So for your undergraduate years, for year one and year two, an anatomy class as well as histology class, anatomy mainly, you will be given a cadaver. Cadaver is essentially a preserved corpse, and then you are required to dissect the corpse, and you will look at the organs of the said corpse. This is actually being done by the kuliah, being structured. So in the sense that it actually helps us to sorry, my voice not clear. Okay, it actually helps us to deepen our knowledge in terms of anatomy when we dissect a particular cadavers. So you are required to dissect and observe cadaveric dissections in the dissection hall in our kuliah during the first and second year of study, and later on, during our fourth year of medical years, in clinical years, we will need to go into forensic posting. So forensic posting, you will be posted to either one hospitals in Malaysia that offers such for a posting for medical school. So you will go there. So essentially, forensic medicine is a specialized field. uh, just sharing a bit on what I know, what I've been through in that posting. You are given, you need to do forensic where you will have a case, and the case, and you need to do examinations, thorough examinations of the deceased person to determine the cause of death. So you need to do autopsy to that particular deceased body to know the exact cause of death. So that's essential, the essentials of a forensic posting. So in terms of working in forensic, because I did not work there yet, so I won't comment much on that. But in terms of the during the medical schools, yes, you need to go through the dissection. But as I mentioned before, some might say that we cannot do it, but essentially, inshallah, people gonna learn it too. We're going to be accustomed to it. As for your questions, should you pursue or not? Just try, just go into the kuliah later on, inshallah, once you enter. Go through all the subjects, go through all the postings, then you can decide for what's best for you. Lah. But if you can't, why not? Why not pursue it? If you want to, why not? It's your ambitions anyway. Uh, just do what your passion tells you. But you will get a greater pictures once you enter the kuliah later on. If essentially one phase to another, you will see the future better lah. Once I want to be a neurologist, but I only know a bit on how the pathway. So once you enter clinical years, you learn in details how you're gonna do it. Okay. What
All right.
about non-medic student in CFS? Does that mean the percentage for them to enter kuliah? It's mainly because of the CGPA requirements for them to enter kuliah is a bit higher. So they need to compete, in order to secure a spot. For all of you guys, you just need to maintain your spot. So aim the minimum requirements I was told by the committee that was still maintained at 3.5. Back then, my batch was also, the requirements were also 3.5. So it's easier for us within the medical program to retain the spot, but it's not impossible for others to secure the spot. I would say the percentage is low lah. From my batch, only about, if I'm mistaken, about 5 to 6% from a total of 145 who are from a non-medical program. But it's not impossible, but it's you can always aim for that. It's not impossible, even though the percentage speaking is statistically speaking is low. Yeah, mainly it's because of the CGPA requirement is higher.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. Okay. Maybe last question from Irfan Hakim. As IIUM graduates, do we have to do our HO in IIUM hospital only, or we have a choice at other hospitals too?
Okay, so a bit on housemanship. So once you finish your undergraduate years, we need to register in the Malaysian Medical Council. So the system, as of current, I'm not sure about you guys later on. It might change, but it might not change because it has been there for a couple of years now. So you can actually choose whichever hospital that suits you, because currently the system, as of now, they will release online application website, e-housemanship. So there you can search for the available hospital that is providing housemanship services, housemanship posting, and it comes with a first come and first serve basis, meaning that it, for example, I live in Selangor, but I might not get in Selangor, not because I live in Selangor, but because I'm late. Faham tak? Maksudnya, it's a first come first serve basis, meaning that siapa cepat dia dapat lah, siapa yang cepat klik, dia akan dapat lah. So that's the system as of current. So it's not, you are not restricted to do in UIA punya hospital pun. Actually, UIA hospital tak offer pun lagi service stage opening. They are planning to do it, but not in the current time lah. Maybe a few late, maybe during your time it will be there lah. But it's not restricted there. You can always do to whichever hospital, government, or institutional hospital, university hospital that offers such posting. For example, UKM, USM, hopefully UIA, inshallah, in the future.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Maybe the last question from Ahmad Hanif. What department that lacks specialists or staff?
Okay, good questions. I asked the lecturers before, my lecturers in clinical years, their answers is always gonna be all departments are actually lacking specialists. That's what I quote their answer lah, because they are within the working field. They know the reality there, so all of them are requiring more specialists to come. So just go through your posting and decide later on. You can. It's not very too late to decide. Even you are late to decide, better late than never. Okay.
All right, maybe the last question is from me as the MC. During our clinical years, can we perform or help in surgeries, especially the GS surgery, general surgeries? Right.
Okay. Very good questions. Okay, in clinical years, you are required to prepare yourself for your housemanship. That's the essence of what the medical school is all about. It's going to prepare us for the next phase of life, which is our houseman. Housemen are required to do basic procedures such as blood taking, some CPR. You need to do, atrial blood gas, all those, catheterizations of the bladder, catheterization of veins, central no, like central is actually MO. But you, as a houseman, you need to learn that. So in school, in medical school, in the clinical years, yes, we are required to go into surgery. There are requirements, but you are not actually conducting that surgery alone. You are assisting the surgery. You have a specialist there, so you need to scrub in and assist whatever is necessary lah. So usually for the medical, sometimes you get the chance to suture back the incision that is being made. Sometimes you only retract, retract the surgical site, using the retractor, some suction all the blood whatsoever. But there are requirements to do surgery, but you are not the sole surgeon doing that surgery. Don't worry lah, you will get help from others. But it's a good opportunity for to learn, once you go into clinical years. Another thing, my pesanan lah, be proactive in whatever you do, because once you entered your kuliah, it's very hard for those who are not proactive, because everything is on you. There's no one there to monitor or spoon feed you. Everything is on you, so be proactive in pursuing knowledge. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Doctor, for answering all the questions. And thank you also to all the participants that asked questions today. All right. Alhamdulillah, we have reached the end of our event. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude and thanks to our honorable speaker, Dr. Muhammad Aklan bin Muhammad Zaki, and also the head of department, Bayu, MSc advisor, and lecturers for gracing this event. I also would like to apologize for any shortcoming throughout the event. To all the participants, please fill in the attendance via I attend link, and also fill in the evaluation form too. All right, before we end this program, Let's open the camera for photography session. Please, everyone. Can everyone open your camera? All right. Ush. Ambil hari kat muka dah. Alright. So insyaAllah.
Madinah.
Madinah, ya Allah. Okay, boleh. Alright. Everyone, can you open your cameras? Okay. The count of 3. Okay. Lagi. Okay, dah dah. 1, 2, 3. Alright. One more time. Freestyle. 1,
Bye-bye.
2, 3. Okay. Thank you everyone for opening your camera and also for joining this program, and a very thank you, thousands of thank yous to Dr. Aklan to be our speaker today. All right. Thank you everyone. Let's end our program today with tasbih kafarah and suratul asr. Subhanakallah bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Don't forget to fill in the attendance link. All right.